What up, everybody? It's your boy Kento. Oh God, what kind of intro?
Ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they.
What up, everybody? It's your boy Kentario, and I'm back again for another episode of Christ and Comic Books. And today we are doing our review of Sonic 3. A movie that just came out about 3-4 weeks ago, and I finally got to watch it, and let's talk about it. Now, here's the thing. I have, in fact, already watched part 1 and part 2, so it's not as though I'm going in blind to the narrative of what's already occurred. I've already watched all 3 movies. And to be totally honest with you, the first 2 movies were absolutely amazing.
Nice.
It's the third one, surprisingly, that seemed like a kid's movie. That's where I struggled with this movie. And I don't mean for kids in the sense of, you know, the target audience. Obviously, the target audience is kids. But when I say it seems like a kid's movie, the depth with which they could have went with the script, with the conversations that were had, with what Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails were saying. Even with what Shadow was saying, like, there was really no depth to the way that they spoke. So that's something that honestly threw me off about the movie. I guess you could say, because like I said, I love the first one and I love the second one, it might be that I was encompassed with nostalgia watching the first 2 to where I really didn't notice that at the time. But going into the third movie is where it became very obvious, other than at the end when, of course, they bring in the big fight between Shadow and Sonic. They start playing Live and Let. When they start playing that, you know, that's when I get in the zone. I'm like, hey, now we're talking. But like, something about that really threw me off. And it's not just that it came off as a kid's movie. Again, granted, that script was horrible. But not only that, they just did a lot of things very quick and very fast. Gotta go fast! Gotta go fast! And none of those things got an opportunity to really sit with you as the watcher of the movie, and that's my perspective. One of the examples I definitely love to use is the involvement of either General or Lieutenant Walter, which was that old military guy. I believe he was also in the second movie. But they're sitting in Tokyo at the Chow Gardens, and he all of a sudden pops up at their table to sit down and have a chat with Sonic and them. And I was so confused. I'm like, where was he? Why is he here all of a sudden? I thought the girl in them showed up to hire him from Gun. So I was a little confused by his presence. He just all of a sudden shows up, all of a sudden gets hurt in an attack, all of a sudden trusts Sonic to take a high-grade military weapon.
What do you mean by that?
But that really is what threw me off about this movie. Not only that, they really didn't have any deep and powerful quotes coming out of this movie that just like stick with you. Nothing was said that was deep. Even some of Sonic jokes were just very surface level, come and go. If anyone really was hilarious when he said funny things, it's Knuckles, bro.
He does look like a Pokemon. Pika Pika.
Knuckles was hilarious. I didn't care about Sonic's quips. I didn't care about Tails' quips. I love Knuckles, bro. I mean, now that I think about it, even with Tails, and Tails constantly saying, we're a team, we're family. Like, now granted, there's a deep message that can come from talking about pursuing revenge, which is the whole goal of Sonic within this movie, is to pursue revenge. At the same time, a part of the actual narrative from Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, the video game, was him being convinced of being the ultimate life form.
I am the ultimate life form.
Modest too.
So it wasn't simply about getting revenge, it was having this more perspective of the ultimate being that he is, and he was aware of his, I guess you could say, chaos control, the emeralds, and all of those things. He wasn't too ignorant to that side of it, and even then, the final threat was that ultimate life form, and then the fear of the thing coming down. They switched that narrative, which again, the first or second movie, they switched out a lot. Had no problem with that. So for them to do a switch here wasn't that big a deal. It just did not reach my soul. I got it. I felt the message. I was like, oh, hey, I see what y'all was. Oh, that was cool. I see what y'all was doing there. But other than that, it didn't go as deep as it could have. And that's kind of how I felt about the movie. Now you might be looking at me, well, duh, it's a kids movie. Okay, dude. How many Disney movies do they have from back in the day? Lion King, Aladdin, Toy Story, all of those old classic movies that have such a deep and powerful message, but were yet still kids movies. So I don't want to hear that it's a kids movie, so it's obvious. No, they went so much deeper with those kids movies. They could have done better with the Sonic movie. That's just me. Now, here's one thing that I'll definitely acknowledge them on and say that I love. One, the nostalgia, obviously. And two, now I get it, there's a lot of association to that of Dragon Ball when it comes to the Sonic characters and some of the storyline. We got Sonic being like Goku, Shadow being like Vegeta, even Silver's being like Trunks. Knuckles definitely seems like Piccolo.
No! God, please, no! No!
in this movie series. So I love that. But even then, I understand that relationship. But what surprised me, at least from the third movie, is this actually seems a lot like Naruto.
What?
You're like, Naruto? Why does this seem like Naruto? Hear me out. The reason why I think this seemed a bit more like Naruto was, one, we got Shadow, opening the gates and busting out Hidden Lotus on Knuckles and even Tails, bro. Like, he liked to do bing, 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 just like Rock Lee did on Gara. Come on now. Y'all know y'all saw it. And then he peered right up under Knuckles and boink, knocked that sucker in the air and was bouncing him all over the place. I was like, that boy just hit Hidden Lotus? He just hit Hidden Lotus? Bro, hey, I'm sorry. I thought that was amazing. I'm like, okay, I see what y'all did there. But okay, not to overly tangent, but again, where it seems very kiddish and they didn't give it their best, all of a sudden he's got a pistol, all of a sudden he's got a bike, and then you see neither one of those things the rest of the movie. It was just for that scene. That was just like clickbait. That was just for nostalgia for the people who played the the Shadows game. Like, that's all it really was, but it didn't really bless, it didn't really reach, it didn't really touch. Nonetheless, like I said, it's like Naruto. How else is it like Naruto? The problem is pain, suffering, and then pursuing revenge. All of Naruto's enemies were people that were looking for revenge in some way, shape, or form.
This world shall know pain.
They suffered some form of trauma to shape their perspective about the world. And then you have Naruto showing up to give them the talk no jutsu to change their perspective. Ultimately, between Naruto and Sasuke, where Naruto tried that with Sasuke, he couldn't reach Sasuke because he hadn't experienced the same pain as Sasuke. So Sasuke did not want to have that conversation with him. And until Naruto experienced that during the pain arc is when Naruto finally understood.
Whoa, now. You got too much dip on your
Okay, maybe it's not Naruto and Sasuke with Shadow and Sonic. Probably it's Nagato and Naruto, because Nagato is the reason why Naruto finally felt pain. Shadow is the reason why Sonic finally felt that same pain and felt that desire for revenge to the point of taking his life. Look, he betrayed Knuckles and Tails to get his hands on the emeralds, and then he was going all berserk trying to get his hands on Shadow before finally realizing this is not the way we need to do differently. That's a Naruto narrative, guys. Now, we gotta get to the meat and potatoes, people.
I'm a potato.
Is this movie okay for Christians?
I don't know.
Now you might be looking, why would Christians care about a kid movie? Well, turns out, one, I've had quite a few people requesting that I review the Sonic movie. Not only that, I found some things where I could see where they would have this perspective. Oh, that coffin's back. See where they have this perspective on where the Sonic movie, at least Sonic 3, can get to a narrative of being borderline demonic, or changing the perspective of believers or non-believers to have a soft spot for fallen angels. I'm gonna get into that later. But let me do y'all due diligence and give you the background for Sonic 3. Sonic 3 picks up with them, of course, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, all enjoying their family time until the military calls on them to bring down Sonic, who's going on a rampage in Tokyo for some reason or another. I don't know why. I can't remember why he was attacking Tokyo now that I think about it.
What? I've been trapped for 50 years? Why won't you leave me alone?
He was attacking Tokyo for some strange reason. Sonic and them show up to stop him, but he put the brakes on him. And the whole point of what's happening is Grandpa Robotnik, who is the grandfather to Dr. Robotnik from the first two movies, Jim Carrey!
You woke up in the morning with initiative to move, so I make it harder.
Greatest. He's one of my favorite actors, guys. Jim Carrey's one of my favorite actors. But his grandfather is looking to, long story short, destroy the world. Like, just put an end to everyone and everything. And even that part was stupid because you don't find out what the motivation is until the end, that it's Maria, him losing.
Crazy, but I can explain this.
His granddaughter, that's why he wanted to do it. That's why Shadow wanted to do it. But I understand why they wanted to do it, but it's just the way they tried to paint the picture for the loss was lacking. And it's probably because I've seen too much anime which people lose their loved ones in such tragic ways that I had kind of like a bar.
We are the bar.
But the way they lost Maria was just... weak sauce. Like, I was left with more questions than I felt my heart aching. But that's just me. But both Grandpa Robotnik and Shadow are looking to destroy the world and then ultimately destroy themselves. They even rope Dr. Robotnik in on this revenge tour by playing on his heart, being that he never had family to begin with, which is the opposite narrative with Sonic, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails, where they do have that family core, which is something Dr. Robotnik is also jealous of. There's a whole lot to go into that. We may talk about that later. But nonetheless, they play on that. He gets involved. Ultimately, they put an end to it by convincing Shadow that there's more to life than seeking that revenge and that there's nothing to be gained by pursuing that revenge. You won't get anything out of this, and on some level to play on, does Maria even want this? So, like, that's the thing of it. Shadow didn't know how to handle his pain, and then Sonic, being ignorant to how to necessarily handle that pain, was able to capitalize on what he still had to stop himself and then encourage Shadow to pursue something different. They partner together to put an end to it all, and that's the movie. It's that simple. It is a kid's movie. Sonic fans who are Christians who don't know if they should watch the movie, let's talk about it. Here's where the concerns come up, right? The concerns for Christians come up with the Sonic movie when you see that Shadow was one that just fell from space, fell from the heavens, captured by the military, being experimented on so that they can harness his power. He's befriended by a human who sees him as more than a weapon, more than some dangerous entity out of space whom they want to take advantage of and gain power from, etc. She sees him as more than that. They build a friendship and a relationship. And as we've seen through all three Sonic movies, is being able to build these relationships with these otherworldly entities. Now, why does this become a concern for Christians? One, you have a powerful, twisted, arguably twisted because he's dark, he's black and red. Like, he gives that evil aura, so you would think he was evil. Okay, you got that evil entity showing up in the world, and then man trying to grow closer to this thing, either on a personal level or by harnessing its power. This taps into this aspect of human beings getting involved with fallen angels, demonic entities, spirits, etc., through witchcraft, spiritualism, and all of these other things. Not realizing that these things are actually working against you, not working for your good. So when movies like this come out with these otherworldly entities befriending humanity, that causes a concern from a Christian's point of view. You see, where this primarily, in my opinion, stems from is not just witchcraft, but it would also stem from some of the events, one, in Genesis chapter 6, with the fallen ones, the sons of God, fallen angels, the demons, whatever the case may be, however you perceive them, getting with man, having the Nephilim. There's a relationship and a rivalry established between man and the demonic entities. So they're at war with each other, leading to the flood. What follows after the flood, even more so, is man, when they come together, of course, they're able to do great things, as God acknowledges. But not only that, the things that they're wanting to do is do what will draw them closer to God. Where does this tie into Sonic and Shadow? Well, where this ties in, that past relationship with a superpowered entity and that coming back up later on with the Tower of Babel and them wanting to harness more power or see man as great. In the Sonic movies, in the Sonic 3 movie, that is a problem for humanity still being illustrated. The military, though they wanted to stop Grandpa Robotnik from doing quote-unquote evil things, they still wanted him to create them this ultimate powerful weapon that could destroy an entire city if fired from space. Why would you want a weapon like that? They were, 50 years ago, experimenting on Shadow to harness his chaos control power. Why would you want power like that? So there's that partnering with quote-unquote demonic entities in order to gain more power. That is where there's a concern from the Christian side. But guys, I want to clear up and bring some peace, at least from my perspective, as a believer who's seen all 3 movies. That's not the point of the movie. The movie is not trying to communicate some type of peace with alien entities, with angelic beings, with demonic beings, with spiritual beings, even though I can see where you're coming from. The point of this is that there are individuals that feel like Sonic, Shadow, Tails, Knuckles, who have either lost loved ones, who have to make it up out the mud on their own, who are being used and taken advantage of, and the one person that finally shows them a humane type of love and care and compassion, they end up losing that person, so they get stuck in that dark place. When it comes to the Sonic crew, Sonic, Shadow, Tails, Knuckles, all of them, Amy, who shows up at the end of the movie, woohoo, Amy, with them, there is this rejection of that which is different. There's this rejection of those that are hurt or are traumatized. You don't know how to perceive them. You don't know how to receive them. So you otherwise reject them. That's one of the things I will say that I found very interesting with people who go to extremes even about movies like this. Being that they instead want to reject something like this because of that narrative, I personally believe that on some level, with some of them, not all of them, because my dad was the same way, but my dad is not like that. If you're rejecting people of that, like that come from that, calling them monsters, demons, etc., and perceiving them that way, where they're a representation of a human being, not necessarily a spiritual entity, you're ultimately reflecting how you would reject other people if you're not careful with holding that point of view when seeing stuff like that. And I noticed that there are some people like that. There are some people that if you sin a certain amount, then I don't want nothing to do with you. You're a monster. You're corrupt. You're evil. God needs to bring down his hammer on you. Everyone's talking about the LA fires in this same fashion. God's bringing his judgment on Hollywood. Like, there's people with this perspective. We're not even opening up that can of worms. But there's that mindset that people have about people who are evil, people who are wicked, people who do bad, which I understand. But leave that to God to do the judging, while you, who are supposed to demonstrate Christ-like character to these people, and it's not because you want them to just feel bad, it's because you want them, one, to be convicted, and two, to turn from that mindset and that way of living out their life. And so that's one of the big things that this movie actually does. This movie communicates where people who have been rejected or people who have been lost find a place that they can call home, a place of peace, not a place of chaos, a place where they will lead them in the right direction, not corrupt them, which that's why I wish that, I can't remember their characters' names, but the 2 humans that took in Sonic, that's where them being introduced more, being utilized more, they gave great parental guidance to Sonic and parental guidance to the Sonic team, if you will. And having that more is so very fruitful and so very powerful. That is the thing that would transform the circumstances and the outcomes of what a lot of these other people experience in life. So I personally, though I thought the movie was kind of low level done, this movie is in fact okay for Christians from a Christian's point of view. Guys, I want to say thank you so very much for watching this video. I hope, as simple as this video is, that this helps you get a better perspective on how we perceive when TV shows and movies are using otherworld entities. We don't just need to reject it because we see them, but understand how they're using them before we draw our conclusions, because they may actually be talking about you. They may actually be talking about one of your friends, or someone that you yourself have mistreated because of how you perceive them without understanding. But guys, I hope y'all have a blessed one. I will see y'all next time.